Assalamu alaikum. My name is Najam Yousaf. Today I am going to present a research topic that is impact of requirements elicitation in small IT organizations. Before moving towards the abstract of this research paper, first we have to know what is requirement elicitation is. So requirement elicitation is the first step of requirement engineering process actually used to gain knowledge about the project domain and its requirement. And that knowledge actually comes out from the customers, business manuals, stakeholders, etc. So let's move towards the abstract. As we all know that in today's IT world, small IT companies are increasing in number, and that is because of a business and market demand. But at the same time, these small IT companies compromise quality because of less focus on requirement engineering process, and the reason for that compromise is due to the time constraints, cost constraints, and etc. The quality and user satisfaction of a software product can only be achieved if there is a clear picture of the software requirements. In this research paper, our focus is to recognize the importance of requirement elicitation in small software products in small organizations. So we will try to identify different methods of requirement elicitation that can be useful in the development of those software products which are cost effective as well. So let's move towards the introduction. A small IT organization is a business that is owned by some private owner who is giving IT solutions with a small number of employees and usually have a very less revenue or very small revenue or profit, and it actually depends upon the small number of clients. And the whole revenue is actually based on one client, and it may be very critical to have quality in the software product that can be achieved only by having a clear picture of the client's need. But these small IT companies, organizations are very much important because of the low employment opportunities in the government sector. A lot of graduates are jobless, so these companies actually hire these graduate students and help them, as well as then the betterment of the economy of the country. Requirement elicitation is the method of discovering needs and desires of the users and stakeholders, and that is requirements from stakeholders for the better consideration of their desires. Actually, different elicitation techniques exist that are used in SDLC, and all are used to gather the requirements from the stakeholders involved. These techniques helps to acquire stakeholders and user requirements for the software product. Actually, there is no such effective technique that could be used to gather all the requirement at once. So in order to get all the requirements done, we have used multiple techniques for better understanding of the requirements for the software system. So actually in this research paper, our focus is on to identify the importance of stakeholder participation in the application development in small organizations, and also to recognize how application developers in small organizations with having nearly no knowledge of requirement engineering process can develop software systems of high quality to its end users through one of the requirement engineering important process, that is requirement elicitation. So let's move towards the related work. There are a lot of research work has been made on these small IT organizations because these small organizations are getting a lot of importance, and as their market demands gets higher and higher day by day. IT, as is a very emerging field in the modern world of technology. So we are focusing on how these small business in IT works and why it is important to improve requirement engineering process in these small organizations. A lot of work has been done in this area, but there is not much research available that focuses on how to suggest and use requirement engineering process in these small organizations so that they achieve quality and desired needs of the stakeholders, and must be cost effective and feasible as well. User involvement and stakeholder involvement is very important in software development of applications, because if something is missed or ambiguous, users can clear those ambiguities by negotiating with them, and it saves us from development costs at the end of the software development life cycle. Usually these requirement issues occur due to the unavailability of the needed information from clients and stakeholders, and that is because of the management problem, continuously changing the requirement from the clients, communication gaps, and resources shortage. And these requirements actually are very tough to solve. failure rate of these small IT companies is very much on the high side, as we heard about as we heard in the news that software companies stop due to some reasons, and most of the reasons is usually the failure of the company due to the due to the quality aspect, because they didn't acquire customer satisfaction due to no information of what their desires and needs are. In this research paper, our focus is to provide a better idea of these small organizations which can sustain in the market. So we suggest a proper requirement engineering process which are cost effective and feasible for the organizations, are used the quality and customer satisfaction that can be achieved. This would help our small IT companies to make a competitive position in the market, and by achieving the quality, the customers will have a satisfaction of the products. And it also helps the graduating students which are working in the field and to also get more opportunities. So it will be benefit for them as well. So here is a table which shows the count of IT companies that are closed in last 5 years, and that is actually because of the less customer user satisfaction. So let's move towards the methodology. As we know that stakeholders played a very much important role in the requirement elicitation process. So it is not necessary that among all the various elicitation techniques, one of them is best for every case, or one of the elicitation techniques either for all the requirement gathering situations or the type of software under development. So it is quite possible that a particular elicitation technique may be best for a given scenario but may not be best for other scenarios. So it is very important to choose an appropriate requirement elicitation technique for a particular situation. So choosing a technique which is not best for a given scenario can affect your development process, but it also can create ambiguity or incorrect requirement set which is not affordable to these small IT businesses or organizations. So incorrect requirements will cause a customer dissatisfaction because the system will unable to perform in a way that a customer wants. So we have a gap of quality if we do not choose an appropriate requirement elicitation technique. So therefore, a number of authors describe multiple requirement elicitation techniques. So therefore, deep knowledge is required to pick an appropriate elicitation technique for requirement that will help in documenting the correct requirements, as well as it improves the quality of that software product. So there are some different techniques of the requirement elicitation process which are mentioned here. So you can use multiple techniques in order to get the requirements right, in order to get the quality right, because it's not an issue to use multiple requirements in a requirement engineering process. If one requirement process have limitation, you can use another one to cope these problems. So it is quite okay to use multiple requirement elicitation techniques or process at once, but you have to be very much sure that a technique you are choosing is suitable for a given scenario. If it is not suitable for that given scenario, it will have a negative impact on the software system development, which at the end will lead us to the failure of the system, which in terms of the quality, that user is not satisfied with the quality that you gave to him. So you have to be very careful when you're choosing the techniques. You have to choose the technique right in order to get the quality, in order to get the user satisfaction. So here is some requirements elicitation techniques, and we will compare these techniques with each other, how these techniques are differs from each other. So let's move towards the conclusion. Considering the small IT organization in the market, requirement elicitation process need to be more cost effective and must be feasible for these organizations, and for that purpose users and stakeholders plays an important role. They have a lot of significance like other components of SDLC, because they have a vital role in eliciting the requirements. So the stakeholder identification, their participation, their requirement elicitation from them, the system requirements actually gathering through one of the requirements engineering main activities, that is requirement elicitation, is very momentous and crucial. So, requirements elicitation small IT organizations will be very attractive field of research and will help small IT organizations to sustain in the market and compete with those bigger organizations, and thus that will be helpful in creating more job opportunities for fresh graduates of IT. So here are some references.